forward. I hear hand movements are very important during your presentation, so I don't quite know what to do with them at the moment. Anyway, thought you a brief overview. I'm going to do a bit about my work, some experience and presentations. Should be a bit of a short one bit, I think. And finally my conclusion, which is going to say why I'm on this course. First thing off, I'm a hardware engineer. I'm working in development, and I've been there 4 years. Seems like an awfully long time. And I'm currently now in a switching group. I'm not quite sure how long that's going to last, but we shall see. Outside work interests, the usual one is the old beer drinking scenario, which I just about get time for these days, a lot less than I used to, which is probably just as well because I can't drink as much as I used to anyway. I've recently taken up cycling, which is a similar experience as Dave's pizza. You need to get rid of the beer, so I do the cycling with my daughter on the back, which works out quite well. We used to travel a lot, but unfortunately children has made that somewhat of a problem these days. We recently went, last Christmas we went away when my wife was 6 months pregnant with the second child, and it wasn't as relaxing as I thought it was going to be. And the last thing, I like to watch the Grand Prix every other Sunday. It's 2 hours of peace by myself in front of the TV, which I thoroughly enjoy. Presentation experience, I think, varies.
Acknowledgement message from Mr. Tanner.
A brief break. At work we tend to give, I think Anne hit on this, we tend to give presentations to small groups of people, and the problem is that they have varying experiences of what you're talking about, and it's very difficult to get the experience across to everyone without boring people, without totally swamping others with information. I did a presentation at university, I think it was about 10 months ago now, and it was the end of the day. It was the last thing I was tacked on at the end of this, and they were running late as usual. It got to 5 o'clock, and there were all these boring people from all these big companies, and they were wearing their suit and ties, and you could see them, they're gradually slumping in their seats, and I was the last person on. They said, "I'll keep it short because we're running late, we need to go." But I did have a trick up my sleeve, and the fact that I knew they were students, and one thing students like are freebies. I couldn't do free beer or free food. The next best thing was free t-shirts, which Martin happily gave away, well, a few anyway. And so I kind of gave away a few during my talk, and it kept them entertained. The main thing I found was saving nerves. It's just absolutely, it's terrible. Even though you planned before, if you suddenly kind of like babble away for a few minutes and go away from your itinerary, it's very difficult to get yourself back on track. And so I think one of the things I hope from this is, to learn from this, is to have more confidence by planning, speak slower, stop garbling, and to get the information across. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Coping all the distractions there as well.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Chris. For my sins, I'm a homeowner. Hopefully some of what I'm going to talk about you can relate to. If not, well, I'm sure it will at some time in your life. The title of my talk this afternoon is My House, The Story So Far. What I'm hoping to do today is to inform you what may seem like a small task and soon turn out to be a somewhat mammoth one. I should be spending a few minutes giving an overview of the run-up to and some events thereafter of the purchase of my humble abode. I've got some various headings. First one is I'll give you a bit of history. Then I'm going to go through 3 time stages. The first 2 months, the first year, and then now, which happens to be 3 years. There's somewhat of a big lengthy gap between the second and the third one, but we'll come on to that later. The first question is I'm going to pose to you actually. I was told this after I bought my house, which made me feel somewhat better. But there was evidently 3 main criteria to buying a house. And it all begins with L. Anyone have any suggestions? No, it's not.
Location.
Yeah. That's not.
Luck.
No. Loot.
Location.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very simple, but the more you think about it, the more it seems to. I mean, the way we came about to buy our house was that we looked at houses, and we went to this house, but yes, we went all the way 2 days from completing. The guy said, "No, we're not selling that." And my wife saw next door, the house next door was empty. And I thought, okay, well, it's the same house, not the same size house, it's in the same area. Not quite what we envisaged buying, but we managed to track down the owner, put an offer in, couldn't refuse, basically it was an offer, and we bought the house. And the reason we bought it was because it was a nice long garden, it was solid, it was built like a proverbial brick outhouse, and it was an ideal location, you could do something with it. And a very small fact as well, my wife liked it. I can just about read that. So that meant we can now move on to the next stage, and what I tried to achieve during the first 2 months. I think I overdid it somewhat in the fact that we got a quote from a builder for all the work. I thought, well, this seems like rather a lot. And he said he'd do it in the spare 2 weeks he got, so I thought, I'll be a bargain. It turned out to be rather a lot, and that was plus, what's the word you could call materials. So I decided I'd take it on myself. And one of the first things I did was to knock down the bathroom wall, because there's a toilet and the bathroom. I thought, right, here we go. Non-supporting wall, I'll knock this down. And I thought I'd get a friend round. Used up rather a lot of my friends over the past 3 years, actually. And I started off with a hammer and a cold chisel. And I thought, no, this isn't going to work. So the next day when my friend came around, I got out to the hire shop and bought a Kango hammer. This is one of the things you meant to kind of dig holes in concrete this way, but no, we've got a big strong men with which way it's got a big yellow sticker on it saying not to walk up ladders with this thing. So the first thing we did was walk up 4 flights in the ladder, try and knock this wall down. And so there's a partition wall between the bathroom and the toilet. And the first big chunk of wall that came out, just went smack onto the toilet. And that was really the way things were going to go for the next few days. But anyway, so having gained confidence with this Kango hammer, my friend Beth told me he's a bit of an asthma sufferer, and this stuff was built up of black, dense breeze blocks. There's this black dust everywhere. He was walking home, covered in all this black stuff all over him. I didn't see him for a few weeks after that. Anyway, I proceeded to knock down the 5 days after that, which took me 2 days. The neighbours must love me because it's a semi-detached house. And the last thing I had in the first 2 months is that we were lying in bed, and it was a summer when we bought the house, but obviously it was gaining on towards autumn, and I'd always wondered what that strange kind of patch was on the ceiling. I painted over it, blissfully thinking, oh well, just one of those things that appeared during time. And it started to rain rather heavily that night. I thought, I can hear something up there. No, I'm not going back to sleep. And sure enough, then it really started coming this ding, 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 ding. And the roof was just leaking like mad, so I was up there with the pans, trying to stop it. So about 2 hours sleep that night. Luckily it was easily solved. I couldn't do that one because walking on roofs is not my best thing. So we go on to the next stage. What happened after the 12th month? We gained central heating, much to my wife's joy, and we had our first child. And this was probably what started off to be a bad thing. I think we should have aimed to complete the task of doing the house up before the children popped along, but you don't have much choice in these things sometimes. Anyway, we had loads of visitors come over, because my wife's American, so we had loads of visitors come over to see us, and we're putting them up in rooms, and quickly, hastily putting curtains up in rooms, and a bit of paper here and a bit of paper there to make it look presentable. And they seemed to go away with, oh, well, it's going to look really good when you finish, kind of comment came out quite a lot. Then someone showed us the video called The Money Pit. Has anyone ever seen that video? Yeah, well, I got my own back. I showed it to someone who had just exchanged contracts in a house similar to mine. He hadn't actually done any work yet, so he appreciated it more. Of all the effort he was going to put in, this was what it's going to look like. I could just see it. It was just our house. It was perfect. And we got furniture, we got carpet. It was in 2 rooms anyway. And that leads me on to the final chapter of now. We have a second child. So very closely been done between the first year and the 3 years because it's livable. Money's a problem as well. I'm going to be honest. I made a comment to my wife yesterday I could move to another company, not far down the road, for a big increase in money. And I could see these things like kitchen and double glazing and all these things popping up into her eyes. And I said, well, it's not quite as simple as that, but never mind. It will come in time. The summary, would I do it again? I think I might do it again. I think I might plan it differently. And to summarise again, we bought the house because of the location, and we decorated it from day one. I think I would actually have done it all in one go. Because the outcome is we've got a small mortgage, and eventually we'll have the house we want. And my concluding statement is, we are getting there. I just wish we got there sooner. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. How did that go?
This started off better, and I lost it somewhere in the middle. When I was confident with things, I knew where things were going, I was okay. For a couple of tracks, I started waffling, and I could feel myself speeding up and looking at my notes. I could feel some. It was coming in. I started off confident. I think I lost it a bit of the way through there. But maybe if I could keep it going a bit longer.
Right. Okay.
I also found out that when I was doing, I planned out. I was looking at other people doing the talking, and I was going, actually, I do a bit of changing here. I think one thing to do is do your talk.
Yeah.
Maybe if you did one tonight, I might do some sketching before it, and then tomorrow morning look over it again.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the way to do it.
Yeah. It's always a danger when there's a number of people doing presentations, because one of the benefits of this type of event is learning from each other and learning from others and picking up tips and pointers. And the downside is you try to add everything into your own, and that can get you into that state of confusion. So I think that's very observant of you, Chris. Okay, your overall impression then, Mark?
It seems to be good. It's got a point across.
Struggling to be honest here.
No, it's fun. Anything else to say? But it seems to be very good. Can't think.
What did you enjoy about it then?
It felt like a good speed. It didn't seem to be too fast to me.
Okay, all right, because that's as important, all right? Yeah, if you enjoyed something, it's actually saying, well, why did I enjoy that? Why did I like listening to that or whatever? So, that's much more meaningful to each other than just saying something was good. Yeah, so let's maybe not lose sight of that for future occasions. Okay, thanks, Mark. Where are we, Howard?
Yeah, the aim was pretty easy to follow. The structure and the logical, the way you were going through it seemed pretty logical. You seemed to get a bit flustered in your summary at the end of it. That was about it. That was anything I could spot. The rest of it seemed, the logic of it going through seemed fine. It was very easy to follow.
Did you notice, Howard, what Chris picked up for himself about losing it and, sort of, was that evident to you?
I didn't actually notice it halfway through. It just seemed, it only seemed noticeable right at the end when you got a little bit flustered, but I didn't notice anything in the middle.
Because that's important. I mean, although you've been honest and said for yourself, Chris, that you noticed it, sometimes you can get away with these things.
Yeah.
Other people don't pick it up.
The summary one was it was. I thought I'd written a word-for-word summary as I had done an introduction. I looked at them, damn, all I've got is scrawled notes. That was kind of a bit off-putting, but
Right.
it's my thing.
Thanks, Howard. And John?
I thought generally it was very good. There's a bit of looking down at the notes during the time, but you knew, it seemed that you knew you were doing that. You kept dragging your head back up again, so that wasn't too bad. The hands went behind your back a bit and rested on your hips a bit. Probably too much. You were trying to keep those in control, but other times you were fairly animated, and it was not quite Magnus height that you might have thought you were suffering from. Because it seemed you were trying to get up mid-in and humour was good. And the only other point I can pick up on is to start with, you were shaking your fist to punctuate the points that you were going to make, and that kind of was good. I like that.
You like that,
Yeah.
John? Okay.
I didn't even know I'd done that. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other observations?
Can I just say I enjoyed it and found it hard to do the thing because I was listening so much to
Right, you were doing the pattern note.
doing the
weren't you?
pattern notes.
Yeah. And how easy was it to do the pattern note?
Not until the end I realised, because I got the main thing about the history, and then thought the first 12 months and 3 years was coming off that, and it wasn't until I realised a bit later that actually they were separate headings.
Yeah.
I thought history was one heading and then you'd go on to something else, but that's me.
Okay. All right.
But I did realise that. And your summary.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it, Chris. I thought it was a good presentation, a good opening, And I think that's been endorsed by the fact that you've already said that you had some good notes there to support your opening, and you've really covered off everything quite naturally as well. It came across. I thought you looked quite relaxed up there. No, it doesn't matter how you felt, but you looked quite relaxed to me, and very confident in what you were saying. And you had a nice smile that we saw far more of in this presentation than we saw first thing this morning. Good use of your own examples. Yeah, it was real. I think people were with you because it was real life stuff and people could relate to it, which was excellent. You did use the flip chart as the first person to use anything else today, which was good. The downside to using the flip chart. A, you could, yes, to have turned it over, but B, it became something that you were hiding behind. Subconsciously, I'm sure, but particularly probably for the people over this side of the room, every so often you'd come out to play from behind the flip chart, and then we'd go back again behind the flip chart and come out again. And if you look at it, you'll see how this movement goes from behind the flip chart and forward. So if you've finished using a flip chart, move it out the way so you're not in danger of doing that, which was okay for me, but that side of the room may have suffered a little bit. And if you had many more people, they would have lost some of what you were saying because of that activity. We had hoping and hopefully a couple of times in the early part of the presentation, perhaps because of nerves getting into it, because it didn't come up after that very often. And the other points already been mentioned, looking down at notes on a few occasions, and remember to shut up if you're looking down at your notes, and then come back to us and talk to us. Well done. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name's Chris again. I'm going to do a work topic this time. And it's on my current project, which I'm project leading for the first time. And I have now been on the project for approximately 3 weeks, so it's in the early stages of development. My aim is to ensure you have an understanding of the product and the project I'm currently working on. And I've divided this up a little bit. I thought first of all I'd go over the technology in layman's terms, because that's what I can give it to you anyway. And plus it'll give you a good briefing on the background. I then thought I'd give you an overview of the product itself. What am I actually working on? Then I'll do some development activities. So what are we currently doing upstairs, and basically what am I in charge of? And finally, I thought I'd come across some problems, because nothing's ever as simple as it seems. So first of all, I thought I'd just try and explain what a switch was. I'm sure a lot of you have heard a lot about all of this. Before we explain what a switch is, what's a repeater? Let's go back a stage here. So we've got a nice little FMS2.
Is that your bulb?
I'm sorry?
Is that your bulb?
Oh no, this is the previous one. I've done the bulb one, so I'm not very good at 3D graphics, but if you want to believe it's there. Anyway.
You missed some ports out.
Going on here, so this is your PC. You will try to access a network drive at some point or other. Let's say this is simplification. I think this is the right symbol. Someone's probably more familiar with this than me. For your hard disk drive, so let's say that's P. Okay, now let's say you do an access to this drive. In a repeater, your PC will send out information on your network cable. And if the network's up, MIS have been doing us a favour today, this information will pass down here. Now in a repeater, that information also comes out on every other port on this product. So if you've got another PC hanging off here, a few more network drives hanging off these ports, that information goes to all of these ports. So you can see there's a lot of bandwidth wasted here because this isn't actually going to do anything by going away.
Could you just let me know, what is bandwidth? I mean, I keep hearing this bandwidth. What is
Okay, well, think of bandwidth. Actually, to describe this, it's a pipe. Yeah, another terminology there. And you've only got so much information you can get through this pipe.
Right.
And bandwidth is used as a percentage of the information you can get through there.
So what sort of information is it? Electronic?
Absolutely, yes.
What? Wavelengths? Things like that?
Not wavelengths so much as packet information. And I won't go into that subject here because we can digress down that route and never come back. But if you wish to tell that other thing, that'd be fine. Okay, so that's repeating. Anyone any questions?
Does it work with things other than PCs?
Absolutely, yes. You can have anything hanging on here that has a network connection. I thought a PC and disk drive would help you